Hello, I'm Jake Bapps, the historian here at the University of Rio Grande, and today we're in the Atwood Heritage Room, which is appropriate as we're approaching Founders Day on September 13th, which marks the first day of classes, 1876. I'm with Permelia. This is the lady that's responsible for Rio Grande being here. Aunt Permelia built a college. This is the only existing picture confirmed of her taken on her deathbed. Obviously, she looks very stern and severe, but she's not. The students actually called her Aunt Permelia because after the college was founded, she continued on the board of trustees until 1885, the time of her death. And she loved to go around and talk to students. That was one of her favorite things to do, and the students loved her in return. They called her Aunt Permelia. Well, Aunt Permelia is the one that's got it here. It all starts with her. She was born in 1802. Her family was in South Carolina on the Georgia line. And her father, David Ridgway, moved the family to the new state of Ohio. Ohio becomes a state in 1803. David Ridgway arrives here. They build a home. And their only daughter, Nehemiah, or Permelia, is there. And soon she meets a Virginian who had passed through here on his way during the War of 1812, Nehemiah Atwood. Nehemiah was born in Virginia in 1792. He served in the War of 1812. He liked the area so much that the story is he moved here, and he also had a cousin here, which may have been the real reason he moved to this area. But you have Nehemiah and Permelia. They marry in 1818, the same year the Welsh arrive in the area. And so they have a happy marriage. They have an inn, which is about a mile from where Rio Grande now stands. They were a childless couple, but they were very prosperous. Enter the Reverend Ira Z. Haney, a young Free Will Baptist minister from Albany, Ohio. He's a Ohio University student, became a Free Will Baptist minister. He rode a circuit he would leave Albany on a Sunday and he would travel to Cheshire, then he would come through here on his way back to Athens to be in Athens again the next Sunday. And the Atwoods were not especially religious, but they did convert to become Free Will Baptists due to their association with the Reverend Haney. And they were so devout, take this into account, they were baptized in January 26th of 1851 in Raccoon Creek. Remember, Free Will Baptists believed in full immersion. So they were held underwater in Raccoon Creek in January to be baptized. I think that's a sign they were very devout. Two things that characterized the Free Will Baptist religion at the time. They were major believers in abolition and prohibition. They opposed slavery vehemently, and they opposed the use of alcohol vehemently. So that tells you what Permelia and Nehemiah were like. Nehemiah wanted to do something. He told the Reverend Haney he wished he could preach if he was too old. He wasn't a good enough speaker. And Reverend Haney said, "Why don't you build a college?" Nehemiah thought that was a great idea. Permelia was right along. They decided to build a college where no one else thought there should be a college or even saw a need for a college. And then they're making progress, and then Nehemiah dies in 1869. Supposedly his last words to Permelia was, "Permelia, build the college." And then he dies. Nice story. True, probably not, but that's the story that's held up through the years. And so Permelia continues to pursue the college. She donates land in 1873. She donates the southeast corner of her farm. Permelia is also on the board of directors of the local bank. She was not your typical 19th century woman. She was a leader and a woman far beyond her time. And she had remarried Harrison Wood, who lived in what's now the Bob Evans farm, the homestead. And Permelia went on with the idea. In 1874, they break ground for what would be called College Hall, which after her death became Atwood Hall. And in 1876, she writes a will where she gives every penny she has. Valued at about $4 million in modern terms. She paid for the buildings. She paid for Atwood Hall. She paid for the boarding hall. She helped hire the first teacher. She's on the board of trustees. The dedication of the school comes 2 weeks after her will. August 30th, 1876, on a Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning of all time. You must remember, Rio Grande had just become a village in 1874. There were 3 houses and a post office, and 2,000 people came to this patch of ground to watch the dedication of a college. And so the staff's in place, the staff of 4, they have 15 students, and the first day of school was September 13th, 1876. We now commemorate that as Founders Day. Again, Nehemiah, the Reverend Haining, but most of all, Permelia Atwood. Next week, more about Permelia.